Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us on Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Positive global cues lift Dalal Street. The Sensex gains over 400 points. The Nifty higher by over 100 points. Bank stocks rise. Mid-caps underperform. The index ends marginally in the red. Crude oil prices see a sharp fall. Fears over demand offset pledges from Saudi Arabia and Russia to continue the production cuts. Brent crude prices trade near $85 a barrel. Reserve Bank to announce its monetary policy decision tomorrow. All respondents to a CNBC-TV18 poll vote for a status quo policy. However, the markets will keep an eye on the commentary and the inflation forecast. At least 14 people are dead, more than 100 missing after flash floods in Sikkim. Hydropower plants on the Tista River suffer severe damage. Highways get washed away. Several villages in West Bengal also impacted. The number of beneficiaries for the PM Kisan scheme dropped by more than 16%. Government sources say more than 1.7 crore beneficiaries were found to be ineligible. 25% of those dropped did not have authentic land records. The upcoming GST meeting this weekend is likely to consider reducing the tax on molasses from 28% to 5%. The council is also likely to clarify on taxation for extra neutral alcohol. That's CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Fintech firm MobiKwik posts a profit for the third quarter as revenues rise 52%. On the other hand, Crude reports an annual revenue growth of more than threefold, but losses widen marginally by 5%. British media watchdog asked the competition regulator to probe Microsoft and Amazon's dominance of the cloud computing market. British authorities estimate Amazon and Microsoft account for 60 to 70% of the total cloud spend. The Cricket World Cup begins with a clash between England and New Zealand in Ahmedabad. Airline bookings up 70%, say ease my trip. Hospitality stocks perk up. As always, straight to the day's market action. Positive global cues did lift sentiment on the Dalal Street. The Sensex and the Nifty ending the day with gains of close to 0.5%. L&T, ICICI Bank, Infosys did lend support, while Reliance was the drag today. That's the Nifty 50 higher by about 100 points. L&T, as we pointed out, up 2%. Reliance Industries closing the day flat. The Nifty mid-cap, though, down in the red today, but just about a very flat session there as far as the mid-cap index was concerned. That was the market picture for the day. On to the energy market, where crude oil prices have seen a sharp fall. This as fears over demand have offset pledges from Saudi Arabia and Russia to continue the production cuts. Now, Brent crude now nearing $85 a barrel, so a sigh of relief coming in there as far as crude is concerned. India's services sector registered its strongest output in nearly 13 years last month. As per S&P, India's Services Purchasing Managers Index came in at 61 versus 60.1 in August. S&P Global says that new orders rose to the second fastest pace since June of 2010. A PMI reading above 50 represents an expansion, while reading below 50 denotes a contraction. So a good, strong performance there on services output. The big story, Reserve Bank will announce its monetary policy decision tomorrow. All respondents to a CNBC-TV18 poll have voted for a status quo policy. Ritu joins us now to recap what the street is expecting. Ritu, so status quo on rates, but commentary will be watched closely.
The Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee is widely expected to keep rates on hold for the fourth consecutive time and strike a hawkish tone with the recent volatility in global crude prices and global central banks setting up for a longish pause. 100% of the respondents to our poll expect a status quo policy this time around. No rate hikes are expected in the entire financial year, and a rate cut could be pushed to the next financial year, with 40% expecting it in the first quarter and another 30% in the second quarter. But really, this is going to depend on how inflation pans out. Now, the MPC is also expected to leave the policy stance unchanged at withdrawal of accommodation, because the last tranche of that 50,000 crores impounded by RBI with the incremental CRR returns to the system in October. Half of our respondents expect the RBI to revise the consumer inflation projection upwards marginally, while the other half expect it to be left unchanged at 5.4%. The GDP forecast is also unlikely to be tinkered with in this policy. And now anything said on liquidity is going to be very closely watched. We asked our respondents where they see the interbank call rate for the rest of the year, and a large majority sees it at 6.5 to 6.75%, which is a tad above the repo rate. This is because dealers say with the US yields giving a near 5% risk-free return, RBI will have to keep short-term rates higher to attract dollar inflows and prevent any speculative outflows. And lastly, the tone of the policy is likely to be quite hawkish as macroeconomic developments, especially on the global front, will leave little room for RBI to sound dovish. So to sum all of this up, while there's unlikely to be any major action on rates, the commentary is what the markets will watch out for, and more importantly, the inflation projection from the biannual monetary policy report will give an indication of just how far away we are from any hopes of a rate cut.
Ritu, many thanks for joining us, and you can catch the coverage of the RBI monetary policy all day tomorrow right here on CNBC TV18. Well, speaking of meetings, the crucial GST Council meeting that will take place this weekend could bring some relief to the liquor industry. CNBC TV18 has learned from sources that the Council is expected to consider cutting the tax on molasses from 28% right down to 5%. Timsy is standing by with the details. Timsy, what else is on the agenda?
Well, that's right. The upcoming GST Council meeting could get some breather for the liquor industry. The proposal that the Council is going to deliberate upon is to reduce GST on molasses, which is a key ingredient used for making alcohol. The proposal is to reduce GST from 28% to 5% on molasses. Also, a detailed clarity on extra neutral alcohol. Over there, government is going to deliberate upon the issue that there are a lot of cases pending, a lot of litigation happening. So thus, there will be a clarity that extra neutral alcohol used for industrial purposes will attract 18% GST, whereas ENA, that is extra neutral alcohol used for human consumption for liquor purposes, that will be a state subject, and it depends upon the state to levy VAT on it. So that clarity is going to help the liquor industry a lot. And yes, obviously, a reduction on taxes is on the anvil. Back to you.
Well, we will see if that is finally the decision of the GST Council. Remember, the Council will meet on Saturday. Timsy, many thanks for joining us. General Insurer New India Assurance has received a GST demand notice of over 2,300 crore rupees, the largest among all insurers. The company has clarified that the demand is related to industry-wide issues of non-payment of GST on co-insurance premiums. Further, the demand also relates to the non-payment of GST on reinsurance commissions from July 2017 to March 2022. This is the latest insurance company to receive a GST notice. Now, the government has removed over 1.7 crore beneficiaries from the centre's Farmer Income Support Scheme database. This is for the PM Kisan scheme. Sources have told CNBC TV18 that 25% of those dropped lacked authentic land records. Sapna standing by now with the details. Sapna, so what is being done at this point in time is ostensibly a cleanup by the centre of the PM Kisan database. What are the reasons for dropping people off the scheme?
Well, absolutely. This is a massive exercise, and it has been on for quite some time. So as you've rightly indicated the numbers, the base has already, the database, the verified database has actually shrunk by over 15%, 16 point some percent. In pure numbers, this would be 1.72 crore beneficiaries are off that database now. As recently as early 2022, the base was somewhere around 10.47 crore. It's now down to 8.75 crore. Having said that, three key reasons why this is happening. A, it's absolutely mandatory to have an Aadhaar-seeded bank account and authenticated land records to be a PM Kisan beneficiary. So, that mismatch has been found, or that gap has been found under the list of a lot of beneficiaries. So that is one reason. Second, of course, there have been mismatches in bank accounts itself. So that's the second one. I mean, you have not mentioned the account number correctly, or you have all the credentials, but you're giving somebody else's bank account number for that money to flow through DBT. So, that again is a big cross as far as the inflow of the benefit is concerned. And of course, a significant number of pensioners, income tax payers, people who have other sources of income, they have also been found to be availing the PM Kisan benefits. And in fact, what we are being told by a lot of local sources is that this could be still on a very large degree. So, however, government at this point says that 8.75 crore is where we have settled and kind of stabilized the database. In terms of people having a verified Aadhaar and verified land records, that universe is actually 9.5 crore. So there is a headroom available to add basically potentially 75 lakh more beneficiaries. However, you know, it's a long road ahead. It's one of those miles that need to be still covered. So they're not really talking about it, but that could be somewhere where the universe will settle. As of now, it's a big cut and the number is below 9 crore.
All right, Sapna, appreciate you joining us. So 1.72 crore beneficiaries being dropped from the PM Kisan scheme on account of discrepancies of one kind or another. On to the earnings action from the startup space. Fintech firm MobiKwik posting a profit for the third straight quarter. Revenues up 52%. Crude has reported an annual revenue growth of more than threefold, but losses have widened marginally so by 5%. Arundhati standing by with the details. Aru, take us through both MobiKwik as well as Crude's numbers.
Absolutely, Shireen. So let's take a look at all of the earnings from the startup space. MobiKwik has come out with its numbers for the second quarter of FY24. It clocked a 52% growth in its revenues versus the same period last year. Now, revenues came in at 208 crore rupees in the July to September quarter, which is 17% over the previous quarter of the same fiscal. Now, profit after tax came in at 5 crore rupees, marking the digital banking platform's third consecutive quarter of profitability. Remember, MobiKwik is looking to file an initial public offering in the next 12 to 18 months after its initial plans lapsed in 2022. Meanwhile, fintech startup Crude reported revenues of 1,400 crore rupees from operations for FY23, a 256% growth over the 393 crore rupees that it saw in FY22. However, the unicorn's losses grew marginally to 1,347 crore rupees, widening by 5% from 1,280 crore rupees it reported last year. Now, the company has said it has reduced its customer acquisition cost by 80% over the last 4 years, while marketing costs have gone down by 27% versus the same period last year. In fact, Crude's expenses grew to over 2,830 crore rupees, a 66% rise over the 1,700 crore rupees it spent last year. With that, it is back to you.
All right, Aru, many thanks for joining us. That's the latest there from Startup Street on the numbers being reported by MobiKwik and Crude. Now, at least 14 people have been killed, more than 100 people, including 22 army personnel, still missing after flash floods hit Sikkim on Wednesday. As per the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, a glacial lake in North Sikkim burst due to incessant rains, causing the water levels of the Teesta River to rise. As per reports, the calamity has affected more than 20,000 people. As rescue operations continue, the Indian Met Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall for the next 24 hours in the state. The flooding of the Teesta River has also impacted West Bengal, with many villages near the border being submerged underwater. Meanwhile, several hydropower projects in the Teesta Basin in Sikkim have also been impacted on account of those flash floods. Sikkim's largest hydropower project run by NHPC has suffered severe damage. NHPC has also shut down all units of its power stations. Abhimanyu standing by with the details. Significant damage to the hydro projects in the state of Sikkim. Abhimanyu, take us through the details.
Several NHPC projects in Sikkim continue to remain impacted as floods are still ravaging the state. Parts of West Bengal, especially the northern parts, have kept a vigil as far as the administration is concerned. They are ensuring that all measures are taken to minimize loss of lives and property. Speaking of Sikkim, several NHPC projects continue to remain impacted. The Teesta 3 dam, which was functional till very recently, has been washed away to a large extent. The extent of damage is yet to be assessed, not just for Teesta 3 but also for Teesta 5 and the under construction Teesta 6 project, since the Teesta 5 dam operations as far as power generation is concerned had to be stopped after the water had overflown, and the under construction Teesta 6 dam has also been severely impacted. The extent of damage is yet to be assessed as the approach roads till now are inundated. It remains to be seen how the things are going to pan out as far as the situation situation on the ground is concerned, even as several personnel from the Indian Army as well as several civilians are still missing. All efforts are being made to rescue them at the earliest, and IMD has also predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall for the next 24 hours in Sikkim. So clearly the situation remains precarious. Power generation operations at several dams which are operated by NHPC have been suspended for now, and the extent of damage is yet to be assessed.
Abhimanyu, many thanks for joining us. Up next, several AAP workers protest in Delhi and Chandigarh following the arrest of AAP MP Sanjay Singh in the liquor policy case. That and more when we return. Well, the big political story, AAP workers protesting in Delhi and Chandigarh following the arrest of AAP MP Sanjay Singh in the liquor policy case. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has deferred Manish Sisodia's bail plea to the 12th of October. But during today's hearing, the top court questioned how the ED is bringing Manish Sisodia under the Money Laundering Act when the ED has not been able to establish a money trail, further adding that the case against Sisodia will falter if the ED fails to establish that he received or possessed the funds in question. Let's go across now to Ashmit Kumar. He's standing by with more details on this. Tough questions being asked of the ED. Ashmit, where does this now leave this matter?
Indeed, not an easy day in court for the counsel for the ED appearing in the top court. The Supreme Court-led bench, led by Justice Khanna, made their views very clear on the subject, that they have reservations on the case that the ED is building. The question that the ED was trying to put across is that there is money flowing from, quote-unquote, the South India lobby, and that money is flowing into the hands of the accused, and therefore the ED case is sustainable. That was, of course, the submission that came from the ED counsel. However, the Apex Court questioned this ED narrative, asking where is the money as far as Manish Sisodia is concerned. The Supreme Court observed that he doesn't seem to have pocketed the money. There is no company that he owns in which the company that the money went into. He's not seen using those funds in question. Those tainted funds are at an arm's distance. There's not even a case of vicarious liability that is made out against Manish Sisodia. That there are chains, there are links that are missing in as far as this money chain is concerned, that this ED so far has not been able to demonstrate how this money chain leads up to the primary accused in this case, Manish Sisodia. And that is finally the conclusion that, in fact, the Apex Court sought to give across to the ED, that without there being a very clear trail of money that is leading up inside the pockets of Manish Sisodia, or if he's found using the tainted funds in question to make him out to be a primary accused in this case of ED, that case is bound to falter. That was the word of advice and observation, an oral observation coming in from the Apex Court. But nonetheless, this was during the bail hearing for Manish Sisodia. The arguments have not been concluded. The hearing, we understand, has been deferred till October 12th. That's Thursday of next week. And that's when we can expect more clarity on the way forward, not just with respect to this bail application, but on Supreme Court findings with respect to the merits of this case against Manish Sisodia.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us here with the latest. That is the Manish Sisodia bail hearing currently underway in the Supreme Court. The matter now will be taken up on the 12th of October. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news will continue right after this.